All right, so let's suppose we're looking at balance of payments figures, and this country, which here is Australia listed. We're just comparing basically how much business Australia does with other countries. That's all the balance of payments shows you. It doesn't tell you like the GDP of Australia, all that it's producing, but instead it's showing you how much economic trade they're doing with different countries. So just to illustrate that, let's take a look maybe at 2013 here and compare the balance of goods. So the country sells goods. I mean, companies in the country sell goods to other companies in other countries. Same thing, but they also import goods. So let's say we're just looking at 2013. We want to see whether Australia has exported more stuff versus how much all the stuff that they imported. And to do that, you take just the absolute value of these two figures. If you see the two figures here, the one in yellow, that's the amount of exports that they did for the year. And this other one in red, that's the amount of imports that they did for the year. And so one's positive, one's negative. But if we're going to compare the two, we just take the absolute value of both, just to keep track of which one is the exports and which one is the imports when you do that. So exports here, take the absolute value of that minus the imports, which is 249.7, and the absolute value of that. And the net that you get is a negative 4,480. And so you can see that the imports are bigger than the exports. And what that means is that this is a trade deficit. A trade deficit, at least in terms of goods, which means that they're importing more stuff than they are exporting. And so that's not really either good or bad. I mean, what we're doing here is trying to get a read on, like I said, what kind of business a country does, companies in a country does with the rest of the world. And so clearly they do a little less in terms of trade on physical goods with the rest of the world. Australia produces a lot of commodities, but they import a lot of finished products as well. But let's take a look at services and see how the country here trades with the rest of the world with respect to that. So the approach with services is the same thing. I'm going to highlight in green here. We're looking at 2013. Yellow is going to be our the amount of exports of services that Australia provides. So legal, real estate, whatever type of services is 53,500. And then we compare the absolute value of that to the amount of imports that they make of services, of non-tangible products from other countries. And that number is squared in red, and they export 67 million in services. Okay, and then if we just compare the two numbers, we get minus $14,427 Australian dollars, or whatever currency that this is written in. This looks like it's in dollars. Deficit on services. And so what we're seeing here is that the country of Australia, at least in 2013, is a net importer of services as well as physical goods. And so if you might read elsewhere that the balance of payments must balance. And so, these two deficits are kind of being counteracted somewhere else on the balance of payments statement. And probably where we'll see that is in the financial account in terms of a lot of investment, a surplus of investment going into Australia. So the deficit that you see here is offset in terms of currency flows coming into the country of Australia in the form of investment, whether it's portfolio investment or foreign direct investment. But just in technical terms, this is how you can read a balance of payments table to see whether a country is in deficit or surplus in a particular category like goods or services.